beloved compatriots, fellow victims of a genocidal war, the United Nations Security Council hearing initiated by the United States of America and co-hosted by the United Kingdom, Germany, and the Dominican Republic was an auspicious moment. This is unparalleled progress we have made just within 3 years, after toiling in vain for 57 years just to earn attention. We thank the countries represented in the United Nations Security Council that highlighted the humanitarian suffering of our people as a result of this senseless genocide perpetrated by dictator Paul Biya. We thank especially the Norwegian Refugee Council, represented by its Secretary General Jane Egeland, who described from first-hand evidence the gravity of the sickening humanitarian catastrophe he experienced in his recent visit to Ambazonia, former British Southern Cameroon. We are also grateful to Mark Lowcock, Under-Secretary General of the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, for describing the dire humanitarian situation in our homeland, Ambazonia. For Madame Njomo Esther of Reach Out and Father Paul Njoki Kang of Caritas Bamenda, who traveled all the way from Ambazonia to come and share their experiences on the daily sufferings of our people on ground zero to the international community. We say a very big thank you, and God bless you both. Let's not forget our resilient compatriots who took off time, some traveling for long distances, to come and participate in the demonstration at the United Nations headquarters in New York City. Your presence in New York was a boost to our people on ground zero, who rely on us to push this quest for freedom to its logical end. Thank you once more, compatriots, for your continuous sacrifices. Daily, you continue to make us proud. Inasmuch as we may not agree with all that was discussed at the United Nations Security Council hearing, we must note, without a doubt, that this meeting was historic, a consequence of the defiant will of a people, especially the great Ambazonian people on ground zero, who have not given up on themselves despite being victims of these outrageous atrocities. Your sacrifice, your resistance and patience are the fuel that is necessary to keep the engine of this revolution non-stop until we reach Buea. We think of the innocent lives that have been cut short by Biya's barbaric colonial forces. We think of the brave ones that have fallen while on patriotic duty to defend homeland. Your precious blood will not allow us any rest until we achieve what you gave your lives for: total liberation of our homeland, Ambazonia. We owe this to you. Ambazonia, the engine of diplomacy, grinds slowly but surely, most especially when your interim government stays vigilant and diligent in its approach. The meeting at the United Nations Security Council on the escalating humanitarian situation in the northern and southern zones of our country is as a result of our collective and strategic efforts to draw the international community's attention to the excesses of Biya's terrorism on our people, and a prelude to greater international involvement in the matters concerning our restoration quest. We call on the international community, international humanitarian stakeholders to increase funding to alleviate the dire situation of our people. As you all know, the humanitarian catastrophe in our homeland is just a symptom of unabated human rights violations carried out by the ruthless regime in Yaoundé. I am happy that at last the EU and the UK and the international community at large are coming to terms with this fact. Despite some unfair diplomatic speeches by some of the representatives in the meeting, two phrases were recurrent: root causes and dialogue. There you can see the tiny light at the end of the tunnel. Fellow Ambazonians, the colonial day of slavery, 20th of May, is right around the corner, a day which symbolizes the last nail on the coffin that sealed almost 60 years of our perpetual subjugation of our people under the colonial regime of French Cameroon. No true Ambazonian should participate in the activities of this day. I call on all Ambazonians to make this day a non-event in the entire territory of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. During the two-day lockdown declared on the 19th and the 20th of May, all Ambazonians should stay home, commune with their families, and pray for motherland Ambazonia. I reiterate the call on our traditional leaders of the southern zone and the northern zone not to grant the sacrilegious wish of the colonial officer Oboya by marching in front of him. Any citizen of Ambazonia being threatened to take part in 20th May activities by colonial forces or facilitators should report such threats to the restoration forces, who have been instructed to protect our citizens. Also, our restoration forces and the general population should ensure that the La République colonial prime minister, who is provocatively embarking on an illegal tour of our country, is constantly greeted with a graveyard ghost town and many war cries. Fellow Ambazonians, you have always shown us in this time of adversity that you are more intelligent than us, that you are more committed than any leader, more educated than the crop of people guiding this political process. You are more focused, more sacrificial, and more enterprising than my humble self. If there's one thing I have come to fear and respect, is the collective will and wisdom of you, my people. Today, on the face of a dark, manipulative machinery to derail our collective effort, we are at the mercy of your Ambazonian undying will and encompassing wisdom once more. Make no mistakes. There's only one people, one power, one interim government, and that remains the people's interim government. You, the people, established your interim government 3 years ago. No individual, no group can dissolve it or undo it unless you say so. Leaders will come and go, but your interim government remains until we get to Buea. In this, our people's revolution, you have taught us that you, the people, are the ones who make leaders. Leaders don't make you. Therefore, fear not. Our destiny is in our hands. Let's stay focused on our goals. Dear brothers and sisters, this is not just another speech. This is a to hard talk. The stakes are high. Our nation, and most especially our vulnerable people on ground zero, are looking up to us, and it is our responsibility to provide these three urgent things: protection, sustenance, and hope. In our obvious determination, we shall provide full protection. Let's rally the troops for the countdown to victory. We will be launching a national campaign with our county chairs and local government representatives, which is tagged Adopt 1,000 Heroes. It's a national project. Currently, we have close to 2 million internally displaced persons, hundreds of thousands of refugees in Nigeria alone, scavenging with almost nothing for survival. They need us now more than ever before. That's why the need to continually provide sustenance for our suffering people, especially our women and children back home, can never ever be overemphasized. We have lost more than 10,000 lives already during this senseless war that was declared on us by dictator Paul Biya on the 30th of November 2017. And nothing but a totally free homeland can compensate this huge loss. I want to assure us that the future is bright. We will most certainly deliver not just something better to the next generation, but a sovereign, indivisible, successful, and economically viable Ambazonia. My dear people, yes, there is hope. The international community is trailing our case now more than ever before. But in our hopefulness, let us all stand up to our bargain and continue to do what is necessary to reach Buea at the shortest possible time by following up incessantly on our diplomatic gains, while at the same time defending our people from the continuous massacre by French Cameroon thugs. Let us continue to build up our local government and counties in order to guarantee sustainable funding by way of grassroots mobilization. Let us continue to implement the resolutions of the just ended ASSC in Berlin as agreed by all stakeholders. Let us maintain our focus despite the unwarranted distractions. Let us work as a team. Let our goal be independence now, politics later. In the coming days, each government department will roll out its vision, objectives, and expected outcomes as articulated in their various terms of references. Patriotic volunteers who have accepted to serve in the new cabinet will be expected to offer their best services to enable the interim government to deliver on its laid down quarterly objectives. Thank you for believing in Ambazonia. Independence now, politics later. Long live Ambazonia. Short live the war. God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Thank you. Hail this land of glory, we the Ambazonians pledge our loyalty.